Hey guys, Brody here with Squid's Pressure Washing LLC, Kansas City's highest rated pressure washing service and a veteran owned business. Doing some work today, and I wanted to show you guys a quick and dirty video on how a small engine works, and also how I learned in the Navy to troubleshoot engines in general. Small engines are quite a bit easier and simpler, but I'll show you guys, and hopefully it doesn't turn into a super long video. So how I learned when I was in the Navy was 4 words. This is how to troubleshoot any engine: suck, bang, squeeze, blow. Okay? So there are a couple different things that you can do if it's not getting enough air, and typically I'll link to a couple charts on how to know whether or not it's not getting enough air. Maybe not today, but the next couple days. But suck is the air intake. And I'll show you on this how you guys can see that piston in there. You see that valve? Chances are in a small engine, it's some kind of external component that is keeping the thing from working. It's very rarely, well, not very rarely, I guess by and large, it's almost never internal, which is good news, okay? So as this spins, that valve shuts back down. So let me come back. So this is the intake stroke. When this starts to open, that valve opens and it sucks fuel and air into the chamber. Up here, you see this elevated piece on the magneto. That passes the magneto, which is your generator, which drives a spark into this as it's getting fuel. So this is 4 cycles. This is compression. Now this is exhaust. That bottom valve opens and gets pushed out. So the exhaust gets pushed out. Now it's back to top dead center. Boom, you're in business. So I'll do this again. Suck. Squeeze. Compresses it. Bang, this passes the magneto, lights a spark. Blow. The exhaust valve opens and pushes the exhaust out. See that? Blow. So one more time. Suck, squeeze, bang. The spark fires that piston back down. Blow. Pushes the exhaust out. Cool? Pretty cool, I think. So we'll take a look at this. If you're not getting enough air, it generally won't fire. Or if you're not getting any air at all, it generally won't fire. And if you're not getting any air at all, there's a very small chance it's a broken valve or something's wrong with the valve. But there's a very large chance you need to replace this. See, that's pretty funky. It's normally white. The air gets sucked down into this. So you want to check, make sure that's not clogged, and pulled into the carburetor. So it's not getting enough air. You got to choke it before you start it, which all that means is you choke off the air so you can get more fuel in order to get it started. And then once it's fired, you push this back so it's the fuel to air mix ratio for your engine. This is a carburetor. If I had to narrow down all of the problems and figure out let me start over. So 90%, I will tell you, 90% of the problems with small engines, they fire and they don't stay running. They'll run for a couple seconds, maybe a minute, and then they'll die. That's typically a carburetor problem. You can get on Amazon and find most aftermarket carburetors. This is where the fuel gets pulled into the engine. You can find most aftermarket carburetors for 12 to 20 bucks. Okay? So suck air and fuel. Squeeze, that's compression. Like this. Squeeze. It squeezes air into a closed chamber. Oh, I got caught. Squeeze. Bang. That's typically a spark plug problem, but let's talk about compression for a second. Squeeze. It's locked into that cabinet over there, but it's typically a $25 or $40, between $25 and $40 kit to check compression. And you can get online and find out just about any engine you want. Find out about their particular compression, what's required. The gauge legitimately just plugs into the spark plug hole. You pull the cord, and the compression gauge will fill up and lock out at a certain point. So let's say it's 25. You'll pull the cord, the compression gauge will read the compression gauge will read 25. You've got good compression. If you don't have compression, it's typically a piston ring problem, or a gasket even potentially, but very rare, and a lot more complicated fix than most of these because you got to take stuff apart. For the spark plug, bang, that's the fire, that's fuel and the spark. You want to pick up where is it? One of these. This is generally $5 to $7 at Harbor Freight, and all it is a wire with a bulb inside, and it's a circuit. So when you plug it onto here, it snaps on. Okay, and then you plug it onto your spark plug, and then you put this in the other side, like that. Pull the cable, see if you're getting spark. And this is an old engine. It's probably not going to work, but you really got to pull on it anyway, and this thing will light up. Now, if it doesn't light up, the very first thing you want to check every time is the oil level. And I know that sounds really silly, but you want to check the oil level because most of these engines have a low oil cutoff switch. See that little wire? See that little thing? That's a low oil cutoff switch. And it just tells the engine there's not enough oil, so it won't let it fire. See that mess there? The other thing you want to check is to make sure it's on. And the Hondas, I don't think the Briggs & Strattons have an on switch, but these particular Hondas do. So suck, bang, squeeze, blow. Let's go back to bang. If you're getting spark, it's still not firing. You've got plenty of oil, you've got the switch on, you got spark, just won't fire. And you know you've got good airflow, you know you've got fuel. It's typically a problem with this, which is a lot less common than a faulty spark plug or a fouled spark plug. More often than not, it's a spark plug. Or you've got a problem with this. Now on these, typically a spark plug can be reused. And I'll show you how you can reuse it. But you see how clean that edge is? You'll take your spark plug and your magneto faces You'll put them on the wire wheel, and they'll be good as new, more often than not. You also want to make sure that you have the proper gap in your spark plug, which you can do with some feeler gauges you can get at an auto parts store for less than 10 bucks. But these things here, these wires, are spark plug gaps, different thicknesses. So you'll check the spark plug gap, you'll make sure it's firing. Well, first and foremost, you'll make sure this lights up, spark plug tester. I'll take a step back. First and foremost, you'll make sure you have enough oil. Second, you'll make sure your on switch is on if you got one. Third, you'll make sure this is lighting up. If it's not lighting up, you'll open that up, take the spark plug out, put it on the wire wheel, put it back in, see if that thing lights up. If not, you'll go to this. You'll take it off, you'll clean those faces, and see if you get spark. If not, chances are really good this piece is bad. But on this, you'll just check to make sure that there's a little dust, but make sure nothing's chipped or broken off of it. And that's where your electrical comes from. So what do we talk about? Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. Squeeze, the only thing you can really do to test that is compression tester, or when you fire it up, your engine will putt. It'll go putt, 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 putt. Or it'll sound like it's expelling out, like pff, pff, pff. I don't know if you guys heard that, but it's kind of a lope is the best way I can describe it, I guess. And then blow, quick and dirty. If you're getting a backfire, it means you're getting too much fuel through to the exhaust, which means you have to tune your carburetor. And there's a couple different ways to tune it. Some of them have a set screw to tune it, like that. And you'll just do little tiny turns. Or if you're at higher elevations, or it's an older engine, you're using new fuel, you'll want to get the jet board out, or get a new carburetor. It's designed for the fuel. Again, they're 12 to 20 bucks. But backfires, it's usually a carburetor problem. Okay? You're getting too much fuel, or not enough air. So it could also be an air filter problem. So suck, air, and fuel are the first two things you want to check. Exhaust, if you're not getting any exhaust at all, shut the machine down. You might have dead mouse in there, a bird might have built a nest in there, no idea. But you want to take a look in this once it gets cooled down. And if you can't see anything, if nothing's coming out of that, you want to replace the muffler. These are relatively inexpensive to replace. Replace the muffler on the next go around. If you're not getting anything coming out of this, I'm sad to say it, but your valve is stuck or broke. And that means it's probably just time to replace the engine. So that's the quick and dirty. Hopefully you guys found that helpful. Hopefully you learned something. Thanks for watching.